Well, hello, folks. This is Molly Hillig Rodriguez bringing meaningful dating and relationship topics from me directly to you. Again, it is the month of November, and we are talking about the most important relationship of all, that with ourself and our health and well-being. When we are not feeling full in our own personal body, in our own personal health, when that cup is not full, it's impossible to give to others. So this month, we're bringing that focus all inside. And as I promised, I'm bringing some of Chicagoland's greatest experts to you to talk about health and well-being. And this week, we are so blessed. We have Elyse Wagner from the Functional Coaching Medicine Academy and from My Kitchen Shrink. Elyse is the co-founder of the Functional Medicine Coaching Academy in the Chicagoland area, and they are global leaders in training health coaches so that they can give back to people and support them take charge of their health and well-being. In addition to being the co-founder of this amazing coaching organization, Elyse has served hundreds of people and supported them make empowered choices around their food and their health and well-being. In addition, she is recently married and a new mom to a beautiful baby girl. So she is living it with the rest of us, feeling I can only imagine she's feeling very full days and learning how to be a mom, to be a business owner, to be a wonderful wife, and to take care of ourselves. So we're so lucky to have her. And she's going to share a little bit about emotional eating during the holidays. So Elyse, I'm going to turn the mic over to you, and please share with us how come around this time of year people struggle with emotional eating, and define what emotional eating is.
Yeah. Well, so first of all, thanks for having me. I love being here and talking about this subject of emotional eating. It's totally my sweet spot, no pun intended. So, emotional eating, I think this is a very interesting topic and can be a very charged topic for some individuals because it's almost like the tip of the icing on the cake, or the tip of the iceberg, if you will. There is a lot underneath emotional eating and what it all comprises of. And I don't know, I mean, I'm sure there's a Webster, dictionary definition of what emotional eating is, but actually I would invite you, whoever's listening, to define that for yourself. What's emotional eating look like for you in your life? I know what it looks like for me, and I will share that with you. So emotional eating, and let me just share with you a little bit of some backstory. I probably am the queen of emotional eating. I had some trauma early on in life, paired with some mental emotional scarring, if you will. So I was, as a little girl, I was taunted as obese Elyse. I was probably tipping the scales at about 200 pounds. And I didn't know this until, I was a couple years into my health journey and transforming my lifestyle. But I would eat as a coping mechanism, as a skill. It became a very good and hardwired skill to eat, to ultimately serve myself in not the most healthy way. So why is eating and emotional eating on the rise especially during the holidays and as we ease on into it? I think it happens probably for a lot of reasons. And I kind of come from this functional medicine lens. So I'm looking at the space of, it's not just about food. It's not just about, movement either. It's about your whole life, your whole health, right? So if there is something that you're dealing with that's causing some underlying stress in the body, that's producing just an uneasiness or a feeling of unknowing maybe, that could easily trigger this entire cascade of additional behaviors. So I like to get to the root cause, and that's what functional medicine really focuses on, is we get to the root cause of dis-ease, or what's ailing the body, what's going on, and we go upstream. And so I will relate it back to my story. So when I my emotional eating, and I certainly am not a sage on the stage. This comes out in lots of different ways, even in my own life. But Molly, you brought up a really good point. Like when we're so bogged down with all these amazing things that are going on in our life, especially as women, we tend to put everyone else before us. And I think that is probably one of the, I'm going to call it a mistake, and one of the biggest life lessons that we could also learn. And we need to learn it. We need to learn it. And it's a skill to put ourselves first, which seems so unnatural because we want to put everyone else first. But I feel like emotional eating definitely rises up during the holidays because there are so many different things going on, a heck of a lot more going on than normal. And we're being called to be present for those things. And so I'm trying to think of a really good analogy. And the only thing I can think of is like a flattened pancake, is it's been, mixed too well, and it's been cooking too long, and it starts to get burned out, right? That can be related to, life in general. Is when we've got ourselves, family, a husband or a spouse or a partner, work, or you run your own business, kids on top of it, plus all the duties that's involved with that, grocery shopping, laundry, cleaning the house. Oh my gosh, it's overwhelming. I mean, I'm just talking about it. I'm overwhelmed. Go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
I can just relate, as you were saying all those things. It's like, oh yeah. All of you know, I'm a new mom as well. And as my pile gets heavier, even if it's realistic or within my head, there's always a pile that's being built around me. And I'm like, I need to do this. I need to do this. I need to do this. And like Elyse, I have struggled with emotional eating in my past. And when I feel stressed, I see that it comes up again. It's like my great escape. I'm like, I really need to do that pile of laundry. I need to get a proposal out today. Christopher's crawling at my feet. Let me just dig into this piece of chocolate. That's going to make me escape from what I feel. And I see so many of my girlfriends struggle with this. And a lot of times, when we don't want to look at the real energy leaks in our life, a lot of times they have to do with our relationships, unspoken things in our relationships, challenges coming up with our partner, or maybe extended family or the in-laws. And when we don't want to feel or face some of those challenges, they're energy leaks. And then we go to things that immediately make us feel a different state. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's just kind of what happens for me. When I don't want to face something, I'm like, the chocolate, the cupcakes, the Doritos in a bag that I know are terrible for me.
Well, it's interesting. So I think I want to highlight a word that you are saying. It's feeling, right? So there's feelings that we have, and we're meant to have these feelings. We're meant to feel whatever we feel, but these feelings are like little key indicators. So think if you're, driving along in the car and all of a sudden your check engine light pops on, it's red, it's blinking at you. Typically what we should do is we should pull over or pull into the nearest dealership and lift up the hood, figure out what's going on inside. Most often, sometimes we don't. We keep driving until there's another light that pops on or another light, or we break down. And so one of the things that I want to encourage you to do if you're listening is to ask yourself, because we can relate, and I'll come back to that in a second, we can relate those check engine lights to our feelings. And a really cool thing that we can do with ourselves on a daily basis is we can check in with ourselves and we can say, gosh, what am I feeling right now? And the feeling's the red light, the blinking red light. And when you lift up the hood and take time to dig a little bit deeper, to go just 1 or 2 levels deeper, you can get usually to the root cause of what's going on. So for example, if let me think of okay. I was feeling really stressed out the other day because someone gave my child something to eat that I didn't approve of. So I felt disrespected. I felt not heard. I felt like all of those things actually put me back into my child self. And of course, when I am feeling like this child where I'm not heard, I don't feel respected, it's so interesting because I started bringing these old behaviors back. And where did I go to? I went to food to self-soothe. When what I really could do instead is pause for a second, understand and know, like, hey, I'm feeling this way. Just check in with myself first and ask myself, like, what do I really need right now? I needed to be heard. I needed to take a step back, look at the bigger picture, realize that this probably wasn't, a huge detriment. It's not going to, do anything horrible. And kind of reframe the situation a little bit, and then ask myself, what do I need, and how can I get that need met? And so that in and of itself is a huge skill that you can practice on a daily basis with yourself, with other people. And it really is just taking that moment to just pause, take a step back, bring your awareness to really what's going on right now, because 9 out of 10 times you don't really need that food. That food's going to just cover up the emotions and the feelings. The issue is still there. It's just a Band-Aid. And yeah, it tastes good and it makes you feel really good for just a short amount of time. So am I answering the question?
Yes. In addition to answering the question, Elyse just gave us some really interesting tools that we can use this holiday season that we can practice. One is noticing when your check engine light is coming on. And what that actually means is notice when you're having feelings. So if you are anxious, if you are angry about something, if you feel sad about something, actually take a moment and acknowledge it, just like Elyse recommended to us. And then there's an additional follow-up question that I would like all of us to practice is, what is really going on here? What is a need that I would like to have met here? And it's not always someone else's responsibility to meet our needs, but it's actually our own to identify our needs. And Elyse said a few big things that I think are global needs, and that's to be seen, to be heard, to be respected, to know that we're loved, to know that we're safe. Those tend to be global or universal needs that once we start identifying with, we can learn how to meet them. And Elyse said that is a very big skill. They are big skills, but we can practice them with little tiny steps every single day. What is my check engine light on? What is the emotion that I'm feeling? And what is the underlying need here? So I would recommend to just my readers, take a moment after you listen to this blog and just maybe ponder with those questions, or maybe jot down what you think your core needs are and what emotions do you feel most often throughout the day, or when do you notice your check engine light is coming on. So you answered the question and gave us some really cool tools that we can practice using. One more thing that I would like my readers to know is if someone is struggling with emotional eating, and they know something might be challenging them, what could be the long-term effects of emotional eating? What can be the long-term effects of emotional eating? How could they damage our well-being and maybe our emotional health?
Yeah, well, good question. I have a couple different ways that I could answer it. When we just set aside eating, for example, and food in general, right? That is a big topic. People have a lot of beliefs and attitudes and culture connected to food. Food is everywhere for us, right? And there's a spectrum of different types of food. There's super nutritious foods. There's, non-nutritional foods. There's, different emotions that we have as well that produce different behaviors. And so when I'm feeling super energized and healthy and like I can take on the world, typically what that looks like in my eating lifestyle is I'm choosing, broccoli sprouts and salad for, my lunch, a nice green smoothie, When I'm feeling overwhelmed and stressed, I'm choosing macaroni and cheese, which is actually what I'm eating right now. I'm choosing things that are quick and easy that typically, have been a little bit more on the process side. So okay, Molly, what's the question again? Sorry, mommy brain.
How can if someone is struggling with emotional eating, like how can that be damaging to our long-term well-being?
Yeah, so I think, it brings in a couple different pillars here. It's the emotion. It can damage the emotional health, right? It can damage the body on, a physical level. Different foods that we're eating, they are all, food is information, food's energy, food, can be medicine if you allow it to be, but it also can be a detriment to us. And so the food that we're eating, we know that certain foods are super toxic to us and they can disrupt the gastrointestinal lining. They can cause inflammation in the body. They can cause just a break in the system. There's a lot of toxins in foods these days and in products and things like that we're consuming. And so I think at the core of what I'm getting to is that it can ultimately cause just a break in a lot of different systems and how we're functioning as a whole person. So my biggest encouragement is, the food that you're eating, some of it can be a telltale sign, or the feelings that you're feeling can be a telltale sign for you to just dig a little bit deeper and ask some of those questions, and get your needs met ultimately.
Yes. So I'm connecting personally, and I know a lot of my clients, this is something that they struggle with. And the idea of emotionally eating, like eating when we feel stressed, eating when we feel lonely, letting the thoughts of food consume our brain, hiding behind closed doors and eating, knowing that you feel guilty about choices that you're making, all of that affects the whole person that we are and actually moves out into the relationships that we're in. So Elyse has discussed a really important topic of emotional eating and how this time of year, it's really easy to slip back. It's really easy to slip into emotional eating. For me, it's to slip back into those behaviors. And for some of us, it may be this is the first year that we're using food as a comfort or as a resource. And today, Elyse also discussed with us a few tools that we can practice this holiday season of checking in with the gaslight and what are our needs, really asking ourselves that powerful question, like what are the needs underneath the emotional response that we're feeling. And if you felt inspired or felt encouraged by what you heard today, I'm going to encourage you to check out Elyse's website here. She's got a couple of great resources for us here. Her website, she has a lot of great content on her website that is 100% accessible to you today. She has information right here, the Fab blog. She talks all about food. She gives away recipes. She talks about attitude and body. I also think she offers a few affirmations that are 100% gifted to you. And reach out to her, have a conversation with her, and just see what could be possible for you and your future around the concept of food and your emotional well-being, and of course, physical well-being. Elyse, is there anything else that you would like to address today?
I just want to end with this. I mean, the holidays are so stressful, as they're just stressful, period. And so I want to just reiterate, being kind, being compassionate, being loving to yourself first. And one encouragement, challenge, whatever way you want to look at it, might be to ask yourself, how can I do one thing for myself every single morning? And it could just be one small, simple thing. It could just be, taking a shower could be self-care. It could be just getting up a little bit earlier and having a cup of tea or your favorite drink or coffee and just being in silence for a couple moments before you start your day and really grounding in something. It doesn't have to be a big elaborate thing like you go to yoga or you have to go and get, run, 3 miles before you get your day going. Just start slow and start with love too.
Yes. The greatest way to create love in the world is to start by loving ourselves.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time and being with us today, Elyse. We are so lucky to have you. Again, this is Molly Hillig Rodriguez, bringing meaningful relationship topics directly to you. See you next week talking about sleep.